Our faith and our heritage command us to remember the bitterness of oppression and the lash of injustice, and to help the other and the stranger who still struggle for a better life. We cannot lose faith in our capacity to make a difference.
Her passion for justice and for deeds of goodness, ma'asim tovim, in the world in which we live, is virtually unquenchable. In every situation in which Ruth finds herself, in politics here in New York City, when she served as borough president, and her work at the AJWS. You see that passion, that enthusiasm, that conscience.
Ruth is a person who manifests the values that she talks about. Tzedakah, the value of righteous behavior. Tikkun olam, the value of repairing the world. These are values that she lives and breathes.
She has enough belief that good can be done by sheer dint of will and work, and she gets it done.
Ruth's tough, she's a tough lady, but she's also really nice. She has this tough analytic capacity, and she's just as warm as she could be to people who really need her.
I had been borough president of Manhattan, and Ruth succeeded me. I had great comfort in knowing that she was going to do the wonderful job that she did in fact do. She's not only gifted, but her heart's in the right place. She's one of the good guys, as we say.
Ruth and I first met when I was running for president in 1992. She was one of the very first New York officials to endorse me. I've never forgotten that. And I've never forgotten that endorsement came with her constant commitment to social justice and equal opportunity, and pushing me always to do more.
I first got to know Ruth in early 2004 when I was trying to jump up and down, call attention to what was happening in Darfur. But she was one of the first people to really appreciate that this was a genocide and that it was very important for the Jewish community and for everybody, indeed, to address what was going on.
The opposite of life is not death, but indifference to life and death. When Jews needed help, other people did not come to our rescue. So some of us felt that as Jews, we must also consider ourselves as part of the human family, the large human family, and therefore try to help. And that is what the organization, now headed by Ruth, is trying to do.
One of Ruth's favorite Jewish texts comes from Pirkei Avot, Legends of Our Ancestors. You must start the task, even if you're not going to be able to finish it.
She's been very effective in supporting local groups around the world, often focused on women and children. You find these extraordinary social entrepreneurs. To their project, they have the local knowledge, local contacts, and local ownership.
When I first met Ruth, it was wonderful because that smile in her face and the way that she welcomed me, I really felt it that I know this woman for many, many years. She was down to earth. She had such a wisdom with her that I really felt comfortable sitting and talking to her. American Jewish World Service have been a support of Afghan Institute of Learning for almost 7 years. Since I know American Jewish World Service, my program has flourished everywhere. It's expanding greatly. We are reaching 7.7 million people in Afghanistan. These are women who otherwise will never get an education.
All these projects all around the world. Is it 34 different countries with amazing projects? When we were in Chad, Ruth had projects there. When we went to Rwanda, there were projects there.
One of the things that always strikes me about Ruth is, boy, what energy. There is this rumor that she is approaching 70. I think it's actually 17.
Sometimes I'll call her she's on a skiing trip or something like that, I don't know. Is she 30 yet? I'm not sure.
Ruth does sleep. She sleeps in 5-minute increments every couple of hours.
You send her an email at 3 a.m. because you're in a different time zone. At 3:01, you get the reply.
Traveling with Ruth is something else. When you're going to Rwanda and the Darfur border, It's overwhelming. She was reading The Bottom Billion. She had brought several books, lots of significant magazine articles, The Economist. She would also be doing Sudoku, and she was doing her book. She was multitasking at all times and carrying these heavy cameras. I think she had 2 around her neck. She took, I think, the most amazing picture of me walking with the little Darfuri refugee child in this refugee camp, disappearing into the sandstorm. Her photographs are amazing.
She has built AJWS from being just a tiny little speck on the map to this huge international organization. You work from the ground up, and the thing that I love about it is you assume you have no answers, but the people on the ground know what they need and how they need to do it. And it really is because of Ruth's strength that the work is done this way.
There are many influences on Ruth's life, probably most importantly, her mother. Her mother was an amazing person.
My grandmother, Marjorie, was a student of symbolic logic. When she graduated, she got a teaching position, and then she was told that, as it turned out, a man was available, so they no longer needed her services. That drove her to find work at the Jewish Theological Seminary and find a new career, but I think that respect for thinking and rigor in thinking drove her life and was communicated to Ruth and her sister Barbara, and in turn to us.
One of the things that struck me about Ruth early on was her ability to weave together all sorts of different levels of analysis of complex social problems, but then also to back that up by lending support to projects that really do intervene on multiple levels. And if to give an example, you take a problem like food insecurity, hunger in a place like Haiti. These are never really just local problems. They're really local problems that are also international or transnational. They involve fair trade, but they also involve families, and particularly children and their moms, who are struggling with where to get their next meal. So having a good, sensible, grounded, community-based and social justice approach to hunger is really a very complex thing. And I think that's what Ruth brings to the table every time she is involved in a project.
Ruth and I have worked together after some of the most devastating disasters in recent history, including the 2004 tsunami in South Asia and the earthquake in Haiti earlier this year. She has always been a voice for the most marginalized, whether they live down the street or around the world.
One thing I've learned about Ruth that I didn't know until I started working with her is how devoted she is to her family. She has all these children and grandchildren, and she really does spend a lot of time with them.
Belonging to a family that treats activism as not necessarily an activity or an extracurricular or a hobby, but as a genuine part of what it means to be a human in this day and age is really beautiful.
Last spring, I traveled with Ruth to Uganda, and we visited a lot of the projects there, and we got to help build a market stall. It was amazing. I've heard so much about all of her trips, and it was really cool to see her actually out there working. She does a lot of talking to people and helps them know that they can get things done. It was so moving. I've never seen anything like that.
The Jewish tradition teaches us, lo tonu et hager, you should not oppress the stranger, ki gerim hayitem be'eretz Mitzrayim, because you too were strangers, you were slaves in the land of Egypt. That teaching is one that Ruth Messinger naturally inhabits.
I am not free because others are not. I am free when others are. And therefore, of course, what we try to do is help those in prison. But not only that, but those who live in hunger, in poverty, in misery, or in oppression. It's possible. That is so marvelous and so amazing that it's possible to help.
I think it's frustrating for a lot of people that there are still people dying in Darfur and in Sudan, and that's true. But I go there and I see hundreds of thousands of people who are alive today in camps in Darfur who would not be alive if Ruth and the people she worked with had not led that quite extraordinary campaign.
We will be judged one day, each of us, I say, by how we treat the least among us. And Ruth will be placed high on anyone's list.
Ruth is my role model. If I am going to be like Ruth, I really follow step by step, and I hope that someday people remember me the way that I remember Ruth Messinger, and I congratulate her for this kind of style of life that she has.
We need more people like Ruth. I'm trying to bring up my kids. I tell them about Ruth. We have a picture of her because she's in my pantheon, very small pantheon of iconic women.
It's not just AJWS that needs Ruth. I think all of us do. She's a beacon intellectual who's not afraid to be engaged in tough issues and in tough fights. And so, linking that analytic capacity to her stamina and courage, I think she's the whole package.
Her first 70 years have been a remarkable inspiration to so many of us. I can't wait to see what she does with the next. Happy birthday, Ruth.
Ruth, happy birthday to you. Many, many years to come, years of fruitful work, of inspiring others to do things that have to be done.